Willie, I'll start with you. Congratulations. Treble winners, Super League champions. Just sum up your emotions for me.
Yeah, unbelievable. The first word that comes to mind is obviously proud. Like these players, the performance, excuse me, tonight to fight tooth and nail, like to win that. But it started a long time ago for us. It started our first day back at training. We spoke around last year, what happened last year. We showed some vision of why Wigan won the competition, and they thoroughly deserved it, and we acknowledged that, and we knew we had to be better. But tonight was on the flip side where, these boys were the ones that were fighting, filling the space, doing all those 1% effort areas and all that sort of stuff, and they did it to the end. So, yeah, absolutely amazing.
The game started at 100 miles an hour. You were under the pump at the beginning, under a bit of Wigan pressure. There was a Farrell knock-on and then a Bevan French knock-on over the line. And then the game just seemed to flip on its head about 20 minutes in when Brad O'Neill was sent to the sin bin. How pleasing is it that your side repelled that period of pressure and then came out in such an emphatic victory?
Yeah, I said to the players at half time, I thought we had a nervous start, and then Mikey Lewis corrected me and said, we're probably excited. I thought that's probably fair word. Like we were overly excited. We just couldn't get through our sets. I think one point was at 57%, and then we dodged a bullet, didn't we, twice with those two tries. But Mikey puts himself in the picture. Bevan drops it, knocks it on. The other one was a plain drop by them. So the second one for me, I just thought off the back of that, we need to get some energy here. We need to get some belief because this will turn, which it did. And I thought the players were so dominant off the back of that, and the way they defended and worked hard for each other. Like it just shows there's a proper brotherhood in this team. Like in terms of they would do anything for each other. And you don't win a treble if there's a connection, a tight connection like that, or there's not.
Was that something that was acknowledged, in that tough period, that actually, if we stick in this, we know we're going to come out the right end of it?
Yeah, we say that anyway. Like it's, as I said, they should have probably got those two tries. They didn't, and that happens in games. We talk about moments, dull moments. On this side, it went to us. But it was just a matter of settling down a little bit. That's all we needed to do. We completed it 100% for a long period. Off the back of that, we scored our two tries. So it was a matter of just getting through sets. We don't like talking around completions, and I think you saw it tonight. The players opened up and played and asked a lot of questions. But it was a matter of getting the ball down the other end of the field. As simple as it sounds, that's what we needed to do. But credit to Wigan. I mean, they've been a champion team for a long time, and I want to acknowledge what they've done. I mean, even after the game, the way that they hung around and they congratulated us, and just how they held themselves. And I think that says a lot about them as people and as a club.
The challenge for Mikey Lewis was to stand up and be counted in big games. How do you think he went tonight doing that? You saw.
Look, I said out there that Mikey Lewis has arrived, and what I meant by that is, the big moment. That doesn't get bigger than the grand final, and he owned that first half. So for me, he's copped a lot, and he does cop a lot, but it just showed the type of player that we've got and who he is and what he's about. He'd be first to say that he's had massive games this year, but in terms of like grand finals, he was ready for that. He was ready for that, and he stood up. I'm so proud of him for what he has to cop. But he's grown so much, and he was the difference. He was a difference, in terms of line breaks and all that sort of stuff.
And to see him win the Rob Burrow award as well, just a reflection on that from you.
Yeah, obviously Rob Burrow, absolute champion of our game, and for Mikey to win that, it's such a huge honour. No one played braver than Rob, and no one was braver than Rob to the end. So what he's about as a person, and I think Mikey, there'll be no prouder person than Mikey tonight from receiving that reward. That's for sure.
I'm conscious there are 16 other players, but I just want to ask you one more question about Mikey. In that the club brought the number 6 shirt out of retirement. It was retired, of course, for Roger Millward, but do you think Mikey has done that number, that jersey for the club proud today?
Of course he has. He's done it all season. As I said, that these were the massive moments, but Roger chase the big moments and deliver in the big moments. Mikey did that tonight. So, no one can ever take that away. I spoke during the week around Rhyse Walsh's performance, and at some stage during that week or whenever it was, Rhyse Walsh has gone, I'm going to own this grand final, and it was a matter of Mikey sort of tapping into that a little bit, and he certainly did that tonight. But look, he can't do what he does without these guys. What they do in that middle third. I always say, majority of the hour forwards win the games, which they do, and in the big games, it's your spine that sort of ice those key moments, and Mikey delivered.
I suppose it would have been easy at the start of the second half for the players to be unsettled and for you to be unsettled when Wigan scored first, but just how much of a testament is it to the effort that you've built? The Hull KR way, I think, is the phrase that you use more often than not, Willie, but just how pleasing is it to see that they're living by that Hull KR way and those Hull KR values, again, despite the adversity, to finish the way they did?
Yeah, we knew that we were going to be under adversity. We knew that they were going to come, whether they scored or not, they were going to ask plenty of questions, which they did. They've got that try, but again, it's how you respond in adversity, through adversity. And we always go back to who we are. You never forget where you come from. Our people, or the people of East Hull, work hard. And they don't get it easy. We're never ever going to get that game easy tonight. We're never going to get that second half easy. But I was really, really comfortable, after that the way that they defended. And once we scored that try, I was never comfortable to say we've got the game here, but I was confident in terms of the way we're defending.
Your reflection on this year, because going into the year, there was all the talk around how you were building towards silverware, you were laying the platform towards what you ultimately wanted to achieve, which you now have. You've come away with the treble. Is that you mentioned that work started in pre-season. Just how much does that mean to this club, to yourself, to the players, to be able to walk away with all 3 Super League trophies?
I said to the players before the game, there's only been 4 teams that have ever won the treble, but no one's won the treble twice. So what that says is how hard it is to win a treble. So hard. So we had an opportunity tonight to go out and do something that we may not ever do again. No other team might not ever do again. You don't know. You think about Wigan, the amount of times that they've won competitions, they've won 1 treble. St Helens won 4 years in a row. They only won 1 treble. So the opportunity that we had tonight, we wanted to go after it. And I've got all the belief in the world in these players. Our captain leads from the front. We've got a great leadership group. We brought 2 guys in this year that we knew that would help us achieve that. They just needed a little bit more belief in those bigger games, and that's what Mickey Mack and Jared brought to the team. They were only we only brought them in for 1 year to help these guys go, right, now this is how we do things, and I know that these guys will do it again. I'm not saying headline that we're going to be winning the competition next year. Are we going out to win all 3? Of course we are. Every year that you play, you want to win all 3. But the learnings that we've got from just having people like that around the place, it's priceless. And I'll give you a quick example. Like Mickey Mack, the first training, well, not the first training session, more about week 3, 4 into it. Boys are getting absolutely touched up, and he see him walk over and he starts doing all these extras on his own. And I turned to Jez Litten. I just said, maybe get one thing from him this year, it's that, because Jez thought he was doing enough, but now he knows he wasn't. And look at Jez's game, best player in the outside this year. Hopefully, he's the England hooker, because I think he deserves it. He's been outstanding.
Probably lucky not to be man of steel, but on that point, for Mickey Mack and Jared Warea-Hargreaves to end their careers on such a high, what does that mean?
They're winners, and they've gone out winners, and that's what they deserve. So they had a lot of help from their teammates, but winners just know how to win, and these guys are winners too. So it's a pretty good blend.
I know you'll have time to reflect, you'll have time to celebrate, but there's always what's next to ask, isn't there? What is next for Hull KR, do you think?
Beers. These guys want to have a beer.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
These guys are thirsty. So I asked so much of them, like honestly. So come next year, ask them the same question, and we're going to say we want to go after it. But I asked so much of the players, the staff, and I want to acknowledge the staff that I have. Loyal, hardworking, so you they need a break. You need a break. You work hard, and you want to achieve these things, and when you do, you need to take some time off and take a breath. And these players need that. The staff need that. So I'm not going to sit here and say we've got to be doing this next, because it'll come. But let's wait 6 weeks.
Be as first. Be as first. Elliot, I'm going to bring you in. Willie, thank you for your time. Just what was it like out there physically for you tonight?
Tough. It's a grand final. Pushes your body and your lungs to the limit. We speak about, in those moments you get this little voice in your mind, and it's the easy way out voice. It's the guy who quits, the guy who takes the easy option, the guy who doesn't kick pressure, inside pressure, do his job. And in every game you've got to block it out, but in moments like the grand final and big games, you've got to tell that guy to get on his bike and block him out. And winners, if you want to win, you've got to do that, because the easy option don't get you silver. So it was tough. It pushed yourself to the limit. The 1 to 17, everybody give everything they've got, and we've got what we deserved. Is it even possible to sum up what your emotions are right now? Not really, no. Very overwhelmed, very emotional, to be honest, on the field. Just sort of reflecting on what I've been through in my journey. Even at the club, it's my 6th year here now, and that, just reflecting on that, seeing the emotions of so many people, and I wouldn't be able to do it justice if I tried to sum that up. But yeah, just unbelievable feeling, and so proud to be part of this unbelievable club. We talked about it briefly, but this is the kind of thing that you dreamt about as a kid. You're now living those dreams. Does that even compute when you think about and when you talk about your journey through rugby league and the clubs that you've had and how you've ended up at Hull KR? How does that make you feel? Probably why I was so emotional, to be honest. A lot of dark times, tough moments, hard work, adversity, but just persevered. And we speak about it at the club about when you get a setback, it's what you do next. What's your response? And I think that's a great lesson in life, really. People deal with things and difficulties, but it's how you respond, and that's probably been something that I've. I'm not very perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a perfect person, but I've like to think that I've persevered and worked hard. The boss next to me pushed me along. 3 years ago now, we had a really deep chat and a deep conversation, but a pivotal moment for me in my career, and I owe him everything, to be honest. It won't be possible without the guy next to me. You managed to smile from Willie there, reflecting on that conversation and what that obviously means, and the catalyst that was for you. Where do you go now when you've done everything there is to do? What's next for Elliot Minchella, and how do you keep building with this club? Short answer is in the changing room with the boys and drink loads of beers, but like you said, like Willie says, it's probably time for some downtime. Just refresh the body and the mind, and then go after it again. It's another year that we'll come back in for pre-season, and we've got a saying at the club that your rent's due every day. So no matter what you've done, regardless of what you've achieved up to that point, you still got to go and pay your rent. Your rent's due every day, so you go after it. You go work hard. Regardless of what you've done, you don't sit back and pat yourself on the back and take your foot off the gas. If anything, you probably got to work even harder because you're there to be chased, and we'll be chased next year. But looking forward to it. How does the bond and the group and the culture that you've built together compare to where you've been previously? Well, obviously as a kid, I was at Leeds, and they went on to win the treble 10 years ago. 2015 it was, so we're lucky enough to be in and around that, and I'm not sure about comparing. Has there ever been anything as special as this group for you? Not for me personally, no. Obviously to be able to be a part of this club, the journey that the club's been on since I've been here is unbelievable, and it's. If you'd have told me 6 years ago I'd be sat here right now talking about this, I probably wouldn't have believed you, but just trying to soak it up because it's happened and no one can ever take it away from us. Willie, Elliot, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Willie,
sorry, go on. Does the fact that you're the first time winners since 2004, does that make it even more satisfying? It just shows how difficult it is to come here and win.
Yeah, it's something I think all teams outside that four have been chasing. We obviously couldn't do it last year, and there's been teams that haven't been able to do that. So, yeah, it's a bit of history there in there. So it's something that we wanted to do.
And Hull KR weren't even in Super League the last time. The trophy went back to Yorkshire. That just shows what kind of rise that you've had as a club, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, before my time, there's been a lot of people that have worked hard and helped get us in this position. As I said before, we've got a really loyal, hard-working staff, and that's there's a strong connection between both admin and rugby staff, and we all share the same vision. So if you have that, then you can go somewhere. If there's friction or there's not a clear path, then that's more often than not where things don't go so well. So we do have a strong vision or clear vision at the club.
Just a quick one for Elliot. You've achieved immortality as a group. How does that feel? Will that take a while?
Yeah, obviously not sunk in, and look, I'm not sure. I don't know how that feels. It feels unbelievable. But we're just gonna enjoy the moment. The next few days, I'm sure it'll be unbelievable. We'll go back to Hull and just celebrate with our people, because, like you touched on, 9 years ago the club got relegated, and now we start celebrating a treble. So I'm just so pleased for those people that have been through all the dark times with the club. Fans, our owner, he's been there through that. Just to see the joy and emotion from him, I can't my words will never sum that up. So just gonna suck it all up, enjoy it, and then go back and celebrate with everybody, because they deserve it, and it's unbelievable feeling.
Willie, I know you said you'll take time to reflect on this, but there's now the prospect of Brisbane Broncos potentially coming to Craven Park in February. I mean, how exciting a prospect is that to pick yourselves up in a World Club Challenge and potentially go for being crowned world champion?
Yeah. Someone obviously said it after the game. Before the game, you know about it, but I forgot, to be honest, and I was like, wow, how cool is that? To be able to, because we won't be just representing Hull KR, we're representing the Super League and the competition over here, and so what an honour, and I know the teams that have done that in the past have done that the right way, and we'll be going out to win that game, there's no doubt about that. As I said, we'll worry about preparing for that when the time comes, but certainly we know it's there. We're obviously going to Vegas next year as well, but the World Club Challenge is something that we want to go win, there's no doubt about that.
Jared's arrival obviously was the big signing for 2025, but for all the games he's played this year, for all the moments he's given you, is it nights like tonight why you signed him to play in the big games and deliver in the big games?
The big fella saved his best to last, there's no doubt about that. I mean, what he's brought us in and around the place is hard to put a value on. People don't see that. People just see, I suppose, probably Jared Warea-Hargreaves 3 or 4 or 5 years ago running over people, and he hadn't done that as much. It was regular this year because he's 36, But what he was doing for us early in the year was mainly around his defence and his contact and all that sort of stuff. And then he got us that challenge cup, or helped us get a Challenge Cup victory. And he probably plateaued a little bit, and he probably thought, okay, well, I've done, we hadn't won a trophy in 40 years, whatever it was. I've helped him do that. But then there was a moment I just saw that he just went straight back on. You could see everything in terms of what he was putting in his mouth with food, and didn't have a beer for a number of weeks, like when I say a number of months, sorry. It was all to get himself prepared for that performance tonight. So, initially, a couple of weeks ago against Warrington, he wanted to go back on. Wasn't the right. Didn't feel it was the right thing at the time. Wasn't happy about it, and which you expect. But 2 weeks ago when we played. When we played St Helens, we started plateauing a little bit, and this is for Jared. This game's we need Jared, and there's no coincidence that he just went whoosh. The energy levels and these guys just went to another level, and that happened again tonight. I thought both stints were great, but probably wasn't going to go on when he did. And I just thought after that try, we needed energy. We needed the big fella to help, and that's what he brings. As I said, he saved his best to last tonight, and he was great. Mickey Mack, I just want to mention about him as well. Like, he shouldn't have played tonight. He's got a fractured ankle, but again, he's the sort of player that the players are in the dressing room or in a team meeting, and then he talks. Everyone listens. But Jez Litten's been absolutely outstanding this year, and we needed to get him on when we did, nice and early in the game, and I thought it was a good combination.
So when did you make the call, or did Mickey make the call? Played with a fractured ankle?
His ankle's fractured, so it's been fractured for whatever it's been, but it's not healed. He went and got scans a week and a half, 2 weeks. It wasn't healed, so it was just a matter of seeing how we could handle it. He trained last week. He trained well. We got through it, and then for Mickey Mack to go, I'm sore as he couldn't walk, so that's why he didn't play last week. And then we just had to see how he was this week. And he wasn't, but in his head, that was it. He was playing no matter what. He's literally the toughest I've seen. Like, to be able to handle. When he did it at training, and he's walking away from training. He went, "Ooh, how are you feeling, Mickey?" He said, "Oh, I'll soon find out." Or, "I know soon." As soon as he said that, I was like, "It's not good news." It was fractured. But he needed to go out the way he did, and for both those guys, you know, some people say, "Oh, they're back into their career. Should they be in the 17?" I've heard that before. So absolutely, they should have, because what they do to help others around them, it was immense.
Elliot, I know you might be embarrassed by this, but how much personal praise does that man on your left-hand side deserve?
Hell of a lot. Yeah, I'm not sure I could do it justice, to be honest with you. 3 years ago he came into the club, and I spoke this week actually about it. Before he'd even come in, started the job in the pre-season. Before that, he was already working, sending messages, clips, feedback. This was at the back end of the year before he came in, and we was like, wow, this is unbelievable. Like,
This bloke's too full on.
But yeah, just in terms of standards, what is expected of you, what the standard is when you represent the club. Whenever you pull the shirt on, there's a standard and an expectation, and Willie drives that. He sets the standard. He works around the clock. No stone left unturned. Attention to detail is unbelievable. I could go on. Yeah, mate. Nothing I can say is going to do it justice. 3 years we've been here. We've gone from what Willie inherited to winning a treble in 3 years. So that says it more than anything I can say.
Final question?
Yeah, can I just ask for Willie? You've obviously now won a treble and won the Challenge Cup this week, or your Shield, and now the grand final as well. Just what do you put it down to, that champion mentality in the playing group?
It's what they do at training, what they do every day, how they handle, how they act. So we last year we had a theme. It was called Good to Great. We wanted to go from good to great. So great was about winning the trophy. And we said, well, I said to the players at the back end of the year, I said, well, what's going to determine great? And they said winning a trophy. That was the only way that was going to determine whether they went from good to great. And then we got beaten in the grand final last year against Wigan, and I was in holiday in Turkey, and I'm thinking to myself, gee, we did some great things this year, but we can't. Like, we need to acknowledge that, because I thought they were great throughout the year, but everyone said that we needed to be great to win silverware, and understand that. So we just changed our theme a little bit this year around, and it was more around every day, how you act every day. So it's just being a great Robin, be a great Robin. And the boys had 3 pillars to that. They added 3 pillars to what a great Robin looks like, and basically that's how they act. That's what they, who they are every single day. So they've done that, and when you do that, the rewards come, and the performances like that come. But it starts at training. It starts when they're away from the organisation, and it's who they are, so it's ingrained in them now. And I did say to them at one stage that, or when we first spoke about it, I want this being a great Robin to help 15 years down the track. So whoever's here, players, staff, that they know what a great Robin looks like. Now that's gone a little bit further, because they've just left a legacy that will last forever.